Hello everyone, my name is Zoe and my book of choice was The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. This is a book that I would highly recommend for students ages through kindergarten, first, second, third grade. Less of the older ages because this is a book depicted for younger kids, but this is something I had in my classroom in my first grade. This is something my mom read to me religiously, so this is a book that hits home for me. It's very educational, creative, engaging, all the things that you want in your classroom one day, so I would highly recommend this. The Very Hungry Caterpillar tells a story of a small caterpillar who hatches from an egg on a Sunday morning feeling very hungry. This caterpillar is overcome with starvation. He is malnourished. He's been in this egg way too long. So over the course of the week, he experiments by eating a variety of different foods, starting with healthy fruits. So on Monday, he eats one apple. Caterpillar is still hungry. He is still needing more. So he eats 2 pears on Tuesday, progresses 3 plums on Wednesday. He's only getting hungrier and hungrier. He goes to 4 strawberries on Thursday, 5 oranges on Friday. And then on Saturday, since he is still hungry, he treats himself to a nice big feast of chocolate cake, sausage, cupcakes, pie, salami, cheese, the entire kitchen sink to fulfill his hunger. In return, as we would expect, he gets a stomachache from all this binging, but he does recover the next day on Sunday by eating a green leaf. Then he forms a cocoon because he was able to give his body nutrients. He stays inside of it for 2 weeks, and then he finally emerges as a beautiful butterfly. So this sequence introduced younger audiences to learn things such as days of the week, counting, different types of food, and the life cycle of a butterfly. And I found that this book had a lot of cause and effect, which would allow kids to follow easily, but it also has enough weight to be educational. As far as the visuals go, the visuals are suited for kids of all ages to enjoy, as the pictures have a sort of collage style to them, which are colorful, they're bold. This is in order to get the reader's attention to the detail. I would describe this as when you're looking at one of these pictures in the book, it's not just one designated color, it's like a variety of different shades and hues merged into one. So it's not just one green we're seeing at least 10 versions of green into this one leaf. Each page illustrates the food that the caterpillar eats, while it also has holes in the page to represent the caterpillar eating his way through the book, which I found to be very engaging for young readers. I felt like this kind of approach was very sensory safe and was consistent throughout the whole book in the caterpillar's progression becoming big to small. The use of the background was something I also found to be significant because in some kids' books, they tend to be a little overstimulating to read when there's too much to look at on one page. Kids can't focus on what they're reading because they're so worried about the images on the page, whereas this book was very simple, very minimal words on each page, and all of the background to each page was white. So even on the cover, you can see that it's just white with a big image because that's what we're describing. So I found that was very good. The genre of this book is fiction, and we know this considering that this is something that you don't see on the regular. This caterpillar did not eat cheese and salami on a Saturday morning. That's not something that we see happen. I think that this also has sort of a genre overlay because I would consider this a picture book just because the images are so vivid and they are the main bulk of the book. The main storyline is built around teaching concepts through fictional character and scenario since, as I said, we all know that a caterpillar isn't munching on salami and cheese. In another lens, this is a picture book because the images are the things telling the story, and that makes the book clearly intended for children or younger audiences. One direct quote from the book was, my favorite was, he built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside of it for more than 2 weeks, and then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and then became a beautiful butterfly. I think that this quote represents transformation, and it's also a symbol for growth. While it directly teaches the process of metamorphosis, which is good for kids to know, it also reflects on how we all change over time as humans, and we have to undergo many processes in order to be where we want to be. Even if there's challenges, bumps in the road, we still have to take the steps to get there. I think that it's also the best part because it is the climax of the book where the caterpillar is finally getting his designated results of becoming a butterfly. So I think that it's the best part. Also because butterflies are my favorite. The strengths and weaknesses of this book, what extent is the language and imagery? I would say this book has a specific rhythm when reading, and I found that it was easy to understand the language with minimal words on each page. So I know that the 2-year-old sitting right next to me would also have an easy time reading the book or understanding the book. Since this was something I grew up with, I can say that the holes in the page make it very interactive and it keeps kids curious. Like, why are there holes in the page? Because the caterpillar is so hungry, he's eating the book. It's meant to represent what we're describing. The very hungry caterpillar teaches counting skills, the days of the week, life cycle, along with healthy eating, which I found to be strengths. And while I don't think that there is a direct weakness, I think that without the right guidance, children can receive the message that eating junk food is something that is good for us when it's not. If it's told in an upbeat tone, it can come off the wrong way. I think context is important there. It's okay to have a treat now and again. We don't want to teach kids to not eat things that are fun, like ice cream or cupcakes. But binging those kinds of foods aren't something that is good for our bodies. So with the right teacher, I think that this book can be pointed in the right direction with eating nutritious foods is meant to be the best way to take care of ourselves. I think that the language and imagery age is also most definitely appropriate for those younger than 3 years old, older than 3 years old. So I think that there really is no wrong in that way. How could my book be used in a classroom setting? I would say I had 2 ideas for a learning activity with this grade that I want to teach. So somewhere in between kindergarten and 2nd grade. The first activity includes drawing the life cycle of the butterfly as depicted in the book. The caterpillar starts as an egg, has to grow, eat a lot of food, gets really big, turns into a cocoon, and then turns into a butterfly. So I would kind of have a kid set up a diagram like egg, caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly, while simultaneously reading the book to them and having them answer essential questions such as what helped him grow and what did not help him grow. Tying directly into that, I would like to do a food activity where I would give them cutouts of specific foods and have them sort it into 2 different piles, being the this is always good for you pile and this is the sometimes good for you pile, where donuts could be in the sometimes good, but carrots would be in the it's always good for you, or apples, or things that were mentioned in the book, like strawberries, things of that sort. While doing this, I could also read the book out loud and emphasize the foods that made the caterpillar feel really good versus the ones that gave him a stomachache. After that, I found that I could probably give them a worksheet and have them kind of answer as if they were the caterpillar, like what would help me grow, what's going to make me feel good, what would I eat if I was the hungry caterpillar, and what could I eat to transform into a butterfly, things of that such. So overall, this was a really good read. It's very simple, very educational, so that was my pick of choice.